Story 1. A girl I do not know praised my clothes. Another girl I barely know told me that my scent was beautiful, just like me. Story 2. I had a female coworker tell me that I have a very comfortable presence and that I make it easy for people to open up and talk to me about anything. Story 3. My wife told me a few weeks ago that when we started dating, she knew I was seeing other people and felt that she had one. I walked around like a peacock for at least 3 days afterward. Story 4. I took my jacket off to have my blood pressure taken at the hospital, and the elderly nurse said, "My goodness, what big arms you have." It made the years of working out feel worthwhile. Story 5. I was told yesterday that I bring a light when I walk into a room and that my love for life rubs off on all the people around me. What I have learned over the years is how important it is to tell people the things you love about them. Can make a significant impact. Story 6. A couple was unsure about moving to our neighborhood, but after meeting my kids, they felt confident that their children would have friends at school. Story 7. I have had 2 separate occasions where complete strangers complimented me on how well I parallel parked. Both times, it made my day. Story 8. 2 little kids across the street said I look like Peter Parker. Another child saw the rough versus shadow animations I was working on and said it was really cool. Story 9. I took my child to work, and my boss, whom I respected greatly, told my son to respect me because I am a very intelligent person. Story 10. Recently, I bought myself a dress, something I hadn't done for ages, as I usually prefer slacks and a top. I was getting ready for a social gathering when I sat down, and my husband of 43 years said, "Stand up so I can see." He had a huge smile on his face and added, "You look lovely." He made my world sparkle. Story 11. Someone once said I give off therapy golden retriever energy. I am still confused if it's a compliment, but I'll take it. At least I'm useful? Not sure. Story 12. I made butter chicken from scratch for my New Year's party this year. Everyone who tasted it asked me to make it again in the future. Story 13. I was a nurse in a private hospital, and I really enjoyed being given cute nicknames. My boss didn't like me, and when she tried to change my area or floor, the patients always insisted that they wanted their nurse, Belle, Braids, or Whirl. I was always attentive to them, and I spent the night in the room to provide them with the best care until she fired me for not having the appropriate hairstyle for my work area. Story 14. A girl I briefly dated at university was talking to someone about me and said that he is really full of himself and arrogant just because he is good in bed. I have been relishing that backhanded compliment for the past 25 years. Story 15. I was at the grocery store with my children, and they were riding the little horse that you put a penny into. An elderly woman saw us laughing and said, "It's really nice to see such happy kids. I'm really trying my best as a mother these days." Story 16. You communicate with me as if I am a human being, not just an object. For some reason, that stuck with me. Story 17. I was told that I would probably taste the best and therefore be the first to die in a cannibalism survival situation. Another time, a guy was put in a headlock and forced to tell me that I had good bone structure. I wasn't involved. Story 18. Someone once told me I was the most interesting person they had ever met. Yes, I have had many adventures and cool jobs, but I still felt great about that compliment. I credit it to being more of a great storyteller than an interesting person, but it remains my best compliment. It wasn't someone trying to pick me up. It was a person who genuinely had a great conversation with me. Story 19. I have had 3 similar experiences with younger women approaching me at airports to say I look good. Twice it happened in front of friends and once in front of my wife, so I have witnesses. Story 20. At family reunions, all the kids hang out with me. I'm older, but I always have a neat hat on, probably a flowy skirt, and interesting items in my purse. I love having meaningful conversations with the little ones. My 21-year-old son behaves the same way at his dad's family gatherings with all the cousins and siblings. The neighborhood kids have also called me a fortune teller, which I appreciate since that is the look I'm going for. Story 21. I once joked that I was not very smart, but my college girlfriend told me to never say things like that again because she thought I was quite intelligent. Story 22. In high school, a girl asked me if I used products in my hair and was absolutely amazed when she found out I didn't. My hair is curly, soft, and shiny without much maintenance. Nonetheless, I was beaming with joy. It wasn't the first or last compliment I received, but it's the one that stuck with me. Story 23. Someone called me Superman once. I was randomly walking through the city when someone shouted, "Hey, Superman!" I did a double take, looking around to see whom he was talking to, but there was nobody else. I was surprised and asked, "Me?" He replied, "Yeah." I was so happy and thanked him as I continued walking. Additionally, my coworker mentioned that I sound academic and could listen to me talk all day. Story 24. I have been told by several people that I make them feel safe when I am around. That is enough to make me feel good about myself. Story 25. Not sure, but someone told me today that it makes their day when they see me and talk to me, especially since many other people treat them poorly because of their job. My professor also gave me a high compliment today. Story 26. The best compliment I ever received was probably in education. It aligns well with my curiosity and interest in learning. One of the things I learned is the difference between compliment and compliment. Story 27. I had just gotten a tattoo and received a compliment for it. However, she didn't say I had a nice tattoo. She told me I wore it well. I thought it was so nice. Thanks for liking my tattoo. I like it too, which is why I got it. To be complimented on how well I wear it was next level. Story 28. Today, the worker at the chip truck I visited to get a poutine called me gorgeous after she asked about my nationality. I drove home smiling and happy. Then I had one of the best gym sessions. I didn't know men could be called gorgeous. Story 29. I asked a guy I grew up with to introduce me to one of his friends. He refused, and I was confused as to why. His response was that none of these guys were good enough for me. Story 30. I was at a heavy metal show when a man approached me and thanked me for being there. He said I smelled nice, which saved him from the body odor of everyone around us. Story 31. A girl I knew from an American boarding school flew across the entire country to ask me out after graduation. I wasn't out yet in boarding school, so that was unexpected. Story 32. A random girl in a club in London about 30 years ago told me, "You are the most beautiful person I have ever seen." I was truly astonished. I now live in a non-English speaking country, and at one place where I sometimes eat, one of the waitresses calls me Mr. Nice Eyes. Story 33. My girlfriend's grandmother told me I made her believe that men can be good. She has experienced a lot of horrific people. Story 34. You have been the nicest person I met since coming to the city. Meant a lot to me and still sticks with me today. Story 35. I was patient. Although I don't think much, I heard it from the person I loved, and that made me happy repeatedly. Story 36. Someone told me I was just like the character Stargirl. I thought that was the sweetest compliment at the time. Years later, now that I'm more pessimistic, I wonder if I just embodied a manic pixie dream girl trope. Story 37. I was often told I had nice eyes and eyelashes while growing up, but as I got older, people stopped complimenting them. One day, someone I didn't know very well complimented my eyes, and it made me feel great. It was truly the best. Story 38. My boss was telling the manager about how poorly another person was performing their job and recommended I move there. The manager replied, "No, he is too good to be doing that." Story 39. I was working and feeling pretty tired during the pandemic. Everyone was wearing masks, so it was usually hard to see faces. I took my mask off to drink a glass of water, and a colleague saw me and stared in surprise for a moment. I asked what was wrong, and she froze, saying she had just never seen me without a mask before. I like to believe that was either a great compliment or she was mortified, but I'm an optimistic person, so I choose to take it as a compliment. Story 40. A client I worked with for a few months named their child after me. Felt like I was doing something right with my life. Story 41. I'm not sure if it's the best, But the first thing that comes to mind is when my coworker, who is about 5 years older than me, told me he wants to be like me when he gets older. I found it funny yet really wholesome. Story 42. I was a few months into a new job when I was unexpectedly sent to a different job site. During the first week, I was filled with anxiety, worrying about what everyone thought of me and whether I was doing enough. 5 days in, the foreman, whom I had never met before, told me he liked how I handled myself on the radio, that he enjoyed working with me and hoped to work with me again. I only stayed for 2 more days after being transferred back to my home site, but that really boosted my confidence in the job overall. Story 43. I have always hated my curly hair. It's full of spiral curls. I used to go into the bathroom at school when I was a kid, crying and soaking my hair with as much water as possible to make it straight for a little while because I was bullied relentlessly for it. One day, while walking through a parking lot, a woman stopped me and asked where I got my hair done. I told her it was all natural. Her eyes widened, and she said, "Oh, you have the most gorgeous curly hair I've ever seen." She was so sincere about it. It literally made me tear up. Not really a huge compliment to some people, but to me, it meant the world. Be kind and compliment others. You never know what they have been through in life. Story 44. I assume you mean compliment, not compliment. Some young people, a 23-year-old man and a 19-year-old woman, whom I met trekking in New Zealand, shared that they didn't know how to have a conversation, as they primarily communicate via text messages and social media. We spent several hours practicing listening with curiosity and asking open-ended questions. They became quite good at it by midday. The compliment. She said she wanted to grow up and become just like me. That blew me away and still does. Story 45. You are very funny. You have many other qualities as well, but your sense of humor is outstanding. Story 46. Some of my friends told me, I don't know how you did what you did. It takes so much courage and work. Regarding my decision to restart my life alone in another country. I am a woman from the Middle East, and I understand that this may not be a significant achievement for people from other places. Story 47. Damn, you're strong, said a classmate. You're quite smart, said another classmate while I was sitting by myself, playing a random number game. Handsome, said my grandmother. Story 48. I wish you were gone. How did they know I feel the same way every day? We connected. So cool. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.